Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in to the Tuesday Tea with me, Christy. It is the first part of a four-part series on Started from the Bottom. So I am now a six-figure earner with my business in a direct sales multi-level marketing business. And I've been sharing with you some tips since the beginning of 2020, different series of New Year, New You, Now What? We went through that series and I thought, you know what, let me backtrack and let me tell you about my journey and how I became a six-figure earner in a multi-level marketing and direct sales business and what my journey looked like before starting the business, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Today is going to be before I Googled ways to make extra money, what was I doing? Next part will be ground floor, what you're really asking for. What you're really asking for and starting from the ground floor, because I did start from the ground floor, and then abroad and back, because I did move abroad and I came back, and then if I knew then what I know now. So I am going to get my share on. I have to share with my team because they are waiting this live, and you can get your share on whether you are watching it here on YouTube or if you are on my Facebook business page. This information is good for no matter what kind of businesses you're in, because today I'm going to talk about before I started Googling, what was I doing? What was my past like career and personally that made my progress in the business the way it is? Some people see the end result and don't know what kind of skills that I already possess or did not possess that I had to learn how to do to get where I am today, which is a six-figure earner in my business with cuter than most accessories. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for catching the replay. And let me put this in my business partners group and we're ready to get this started. So I'm going to go all the way back to when I was in elementary school, because who I am that made me a success in this business started way before I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000. And that's literally how I found the business that I am in now. I went online and I Googled, the words were ways to make an extra $1,000 a month. And the business that I decided to do was paparazzi accessories, where I share $5 jewelry that is lead-free and nickel-free. That is the business that I decided on. Not the only business that came up in ways to Google my search results for ways to make an extra $1,000 a month. Some other things that came up was newspaper routes, where you had to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and go throw newspapers. And the funny thing is, my mom did that. I remember my mom doing that. I remember her having the newspapers in a plastic bag. They were like yellow plastic bags. When I was younger, she'd fill those up and she'd get up before we did. And to make extra money, she would sling some newspapers. So that was something that I saw in my Google search. There was another company, another direct sales multi-level marketing company, because there's options. Paparazzi accessories, the one that I chose, may not be the best option for you, but there are lots of options. And so there was another jewelry company, and that option required me to pay $400 to start, and that came with no jewelry. It came with a catalog. And that personally, in my mind, didn't make sense, because I was trying to make an extra $1,000 and I needed something physical in my hand that I knew I could make my money back with, and catalogs wasn't going to do it. And so I went with paparazzi accessories. But let's go way back before the Google. What made me even think when I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 that there's some things that wouldn't work for me and there's some things that would work for me based on who I was growing up, right? So in elementary school, I remember this plain as day. My mom even shares this story with other people. So as I expand and start doing speaking engagements around the world, I'm sure this will be a story that my mom will share with other people for years to come. I was in elementary school. I can remember the place we lived and the way that I wanted some money. I wanted some extra money. We were living in the city of Columbus, Ohio, but we were right on the edge of the suburbs. And so my subdivision, or my neighborhood, was picked up by a bus and bused to a suburban elementary school. And so in a middle class neighborhood, we didn't have as much money as the school, the kids who had houses. Like, we weren't homeowners. My parents weren't homeowners then. We were renters. And so who we were shipped to, the school I went to was middle class. And we weren't. We were, one paycheck away from being broke, which is where I was when I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 a month. And so there were things that the kids were able to do, like I got lunch, but they were able to buy extras, and I didn't have money for extras. And I didn't necessarily always want to ask my parents for money, even if they did or didn't have it. I didn't want to ask for it. I wanted my own money. Always been like that. Wanted my own money. I don't want to ask anybody, because in my mind, even as a young child, that if I asked somebody for money, then they were able to tell me what to do with it because they gave it to me. But if I earned it myself, it was mine, and I could do what I want with it. So I set up a lemonade stand. And I was strategic. Even in elementary school, I was strategic about where this lemonade stand was set up at and what time I set it up. I literally remember this. So our mailboxes for my neighborhood weren't in front of our houses. They were, if you live in an apartment complex, you know how they had the mailboxes set up in one area, right? So everybody would come home, and the way our mailboxes were set up was that you didn't have to get out your car. You could drive up to it, pull your stuff out, and then drive on about to your house, to your townhome. We lived in townhomes. So I set up right there around 5 o'clock, because what is if I work 9 to 5? So they're going to come home between 5 and 6 o'clock. I set up at the end of the mailboxes. And at the end of the mailboxes, when they got their mail, they would stop, because I was a cute little kid with lemonade, and they would buy lemonade from me. So since the beginning, I have had an entrepreneurial mindset. I've had a hustle mindset. Maybe not necessarily a business mindset, because I didn't understand all the aspects like return on investment or the business words related to it. But I knew that if I wanted money, I knew there was a way to go get it. I found a way to go get it, and I was smart about or strategic about how I went and got it. So that was elementary school. From there, as I got older, I was in college. People in college used to call me a Jamaican. And they called me a Jamaican because I worked everywhere in college. Again, I was on a full ride scholarship, but my parents didn't have the money to send me to spring break trips. Like, I didn't have extra money to go to spring break. So everybody was going to spring break to Miami or Cancun and things like that. Not this kid. Not unless I found a way to get it. As far as buy my first car, parents didn't buy my first car. Christy bought her first car. So I had to go out and make things happen. I didn't have the mindset, and this is where mindset comes into play. And this is, as I've been in the business and worked my way up, keyword worked, didn't come to me, wasn't handed to me, worked my way up to being a six-figure earner. The real difference between those that make six figures and don't is simply the mindset. My mindset since the beginning of time, since I was little, you ask my parents, good or bad, was that if I wanted it, I'd go out and get it. And I believed I could have it. Now, I didn't believe it was going to be handed to me. I believe some work had to be put into to get it, but I was willing to do the work. So all this mindset, all this existed inside of me even before I found this business in a Google search. So I continued as I got older, and yard sales and Craigslist was my thing. So I don't even know, Craigslist I know still exists, but I don't know how profitable it is. I don't know how much people use it because I don't use it anymore. But back then, even before Craigslist and yard sales. So in college, I worked in all the dorms. I worked the dorms that I was assigned to. So my job was to check students in and out. So when you came to visit your boo, I check you in, take your ID cards, all that. I pick up extra hours in other dorms. So if somebody couldn't work their 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. time, and I had a late class that day, then I would take that. I also worked in Moe's. I also worked in the student infirmary. So student infirmary, my job was to top chart all the charts. So if you came in because you caught something from sleeping with boo-boo the food and you weren't protected, then I knew that because I had to top chart. So that means I saw the chart the last time you came in there, what you came in there for, and I had to put the new chart on top of it. So I worked in all those places and maintained a 3.5. So that hustle was there in college. Graduated college, went to go to school to be an educator because it was easy for me. It's something I could do. My professor said that I could, I was a natural. I had the teacher eyes in the back of her head. So I could be teaching and I could be like, Tyrone, sit down. And didn't even have to look over at Tyrone. Like, he didn't know I saw him, but I knew he was moving back there. So it was natural, something I could do. But the money that education was going to provide wasn't going to give me the lifestyle that I wanted. So This is who I was even before I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 a month. So I did a teaching, but I always picked up different things when I was teaching. So yard sales, when things were old or I wasn't going to wear it anymore or I didn't need, I would throw a yard sale and flip the things in my house that I didn't want, which is what I tell my team all the time, or what I tell prospects who are like, I don't have $99 to start. I'm like, you have plenty of stuff in your house you need to get rid of that you do not use. Sell it, take that money and start your business with it, and then reinvest, flip it. This is an easy flip. This business that I chose, jewelry, is $5. We buy it for $2.75 and I flip it at any time because things happen, right? I was trying to make extra money. Things happen in this business or in my life where I would flip it and I didn't have the money to put back in the business because I needed all of that for a bill that came up, a car that needed to be fixed, a daycare expense, a child, a baby that I had who needed to go to the doctor and prescription was more than was in the budget because the budget was really just bills, and once bills were paid, that was it. So I would have to use the money that I flipped that was supposed to go back into the business on lifestyle things. So instead of saying, oh, I don't have anything to put back into this easy flip jewelry that people are going to buy more jewelry, to feed more habits, to get more business partners, to build to a six-figure income, I'd sell things around my house that we did not need. I even opened a thrift store. So my aunt, my great aunt, did taxes. She did taxes for a guy who owned a shopping center. So because she did his taxes, he gave her a space to use, right? So the space that she used for taxes, in the front of it was empty. And I was like, oh, can I use that space to open a thrift store? It was a good area. It wasn't a lot of foot traffic, but I wasn't having a monthly fee to pay, a space fee, a rental fee for the space, because she didn't have to. So I went and bought thrift store clothes from Goodwill or Value Village on their days where the clothing was on sale. So they had 50% marked off days, right? And I have a good eye. Like, I'm in thrift stores and I see people buying stuff that they could get from Walmart or Old Navy clothes. I didn't go for that stuff. I went for Liz Taylor. I went for things that business women who worked in a business atmosphere but didn't make 60 or 70,000, you know, the front desk secretary who may make 30 or 40,000, but she's in a corporate environment, so she has to dress the part but may not be able to afford that kind of clothes. I shopped for those clothes. I shopped for the clothes, the Liz Taylors, the Black and White, which is a higher end store, the Ann Taylor Loft. I shopped for those clothes at 50% off at Goodwill's or Value Village. I put it in my thrift store and sold it for the price they would have been regularly sold for in Goodwill or in Value Village. Now, this are all the things I'm sharing with you that I did even before I found this business. So some people will say, oh, this business doesn't work, or whatever direct sales or multi-level marketing business you choose doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. You just may not have these skills already that are necessary to make it work. Now, is it possible to learn those skills? Yes. But there are some people who come into the business already who haven't. Me already was a hustler. Me already believed that whatever I want, I would go get it and it would be mine. Period. That was it's always been my mindset. So in my mind, the thought never crossed my mind like I may not make any money with this thrift store business. Never crossed my mind at all. I knew I was going to make some money with this thrift store business. Was confident it was going to happen. So when I put things in place, this is how I learned how to post on Craigslist to let people know where we were at. I learned to create flyers. I learned all kind of things. And how did I learn this? Google search. People out there have already done this. The map or the success is already written. Go find it and follow it. So I had a thrift store, and this thrift store was an hour, 45 minutes, depending on traffic, away from my home. So I worked full-time as a teacher. I had a daughter. I would pack her up, pack her snacks up because she'd be with me for the whole day. I had an area in the store that had toys in it. She was allowed to play with the toys while she was there. And when it was slow, I'd be posting, because at this point, I had started doing paparazzi. So I was posting my jewelry. I had my jewelry set up in the thrift store. This is also things that I had in mind and did before paparazzi had started. I also made jewelry. There's some things that I did before I started the paparazzi accessories business. Now, was I a jewelry lady? Like in the sense that I wore jewelry all the time? No. But I knew a good source of income when I saw it. I knew a market exists and I capitalized on the market. For example, I knew a market exists for women who needed business clothes but couldn't necessarily afford them at the regular black and white or Ann Taylor price. I knew there was a market for that. Why? Because I was a teacher who wanted to be an administrator, and I knew that I had to, what they say, you dress for the part that you want, not for the part that you have. So even as a teacher, I would dress as the part that I wanted, which is an academic coach, and then an assistant principal. I dressed for those parts as a teacher. How does that help me get the position? Because when people are sitting and thinking, would Christy be good for this? They need to be able to see me in it. If they see me as a tennis shoe wearing, jeans, shirt wearing person, they can't even physically see me as a coach managing other people. They can't even physically see me as an assistant principal managing other people. So I dressed the part when I was in the classroom of the position that I wanted, so that when a discussion was had around a table of people who are making a decision, they could actually see me doing it. They could see me sitting at the table because they are going to picture me in that outfit. So I was one of those people who couldn't necessarily afford black and white, but I had black and white taste. I was a person who couldn't necessarily afford Ann Taylor, but I had Ann Taylor taste. And I knew I wasn't the only person out there like that. So I was able to feed a need. Same thing happened when I made jewelry. I started making jewelry from my grandmother's buttons. My grandmother has 4 daughters, and she would make their clothes. All right. So back in the 60s and 70s, she made their clothes. Well, she had a bag full of buttons. Well, I know there's a group of people because I went to yard sales, and guess what? People at yard sales like yard sales and craft fairs like handmade things. So I took buttons that were matching and made earrings out of them. I would purchase the backs, the silver backs from Etsy over in China. So they would take a little while to get here, but they were like $2 and some change for 100 backs. I'd glue those backs, onto the back of buttons and sell them. And that's where the name Cuter Than Most, my current business name, came from. I was at Michael's, and in the Michael's bin, they had those stamps. And a stamp, like as you're going to check out, they have all these things that entice you for $1, $2. There was a stamps bin. I picked up a stamp, and the stamp said Cuter Than Most. So guess what my business was? Cuter Than Most. I used to stamp that onto a white tag, and that white tag was attached to the button earrings that I made. In addition, Hello Kitty was a huge banger back in the day when I first started, because I started my paparazzi accessories business in 2012. So around 2010, 2012, Hello Kitty was huge. Well, you can get the little molds, the Hello Kitty molds from China via Etsy, and I would buy them, big bags of them, for a couple dollars, no more than $5. They'd ship over. I'd glue them onto earring backs and rings, and I'd sell those babies. I would flip it and make money. So when I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 a month, and a paparazzi accessories company came up, I knew nothing about direct sales. I knew nothing about multi-level marketing. I didn't know anything about building a team or sharing opportunity. But one thing I knew for sure is how to buy something, flip it for profit, and put money in my pocket. I had done that with thrift store clothing. I had done that with Hello Kitty earrings. I had done it with buttons that were sitting around my grandmother's house, which meant there was zero I had to put into it. And then I decided I had to get backs for the earrings. So there was a little bit I had to put into it, but that was a huge area of profit that I could make when selling those buttons. And people love handmade things. So I could range those buttons from $5 to $20 per pair. I knew that is something that I could do. And so when I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 a month, and on a stay-at-home mom's website, which stay-at-home mom is not nothing I wanted to do at all. That was not even a thought process. Because when I picture stay-at-home mom, I picture not just being at home and being a mom. Like I picture like these kids running around and me not being able to make any money because I'm feeding, I'm clothing, I'm dressing, I'm cleaning, and all that kind of stuff, which is not even my reality right now. I have been able to make 6 figures, and if I want somebody to come clean, I can pay them. If I want somebody to come cook, I can pay them. So the picture of why I was staying far away from staying at home mom isn't the picture that my reality has come as a six-figure earner in this business. So those are the things that were already inherently inside of me before I found this business. So it was only icing on the cake when now I didn't have to make the jewelry. I didn't have to go on Etsy online to buy pieces and parts. I didn't feel the need to upprice my stuff because of the amount of time and effort I put into making it. The jewelry was already made for me. All the bags and the branding was already created. I didn't have to do that anymore. All this was already done. And so I looked at what I had already done before and I was like, oh, this is genius. I can do this. So when people see the end result, they see me, Christy, with the T, with the Tuesday T on here, who's now made six figures in this business, and wonder, like, how did it start? There are some things that were already in me. There was a hustle that already existed. See, all the things that I did, starting the thrift store, branding my thrift store, marketing my thrift store, creating the earrings, going and finding resources on Craigslist and putting my business out there. All those things, nobody walked me through it. Nobody said, hey, Christy, if you go do this, I will give you free jewelry for going to work your business. You know what pushed me was I wanted more. I wanted it and I believed I could have it. So I went and got it. And it's that mindset that I had way before this opportunity fell in my lap, or way before I went to go find this opportunity by looking for, Googling, and realizing, what it takes to do this, I already have. Actually, starting this would be easier for me than what I've currently been doing, because all these things were going on at the same time. Yard sales, Craigslist, making jewelry, doing a thrift store, working full time. All these things were happening at the same time. So that means all those things, I could put those skills that I had to do all those things into one thing. Sign me up. That is literally how I felt. Sign me up. So these are all the things that took place with me before I Googled ways to make an extra $1,000 a month and found this opportunity that fit me. So you have to ask yourself, when you're starting a business, what is required for success, and do I already have these skills? And if you don't already have these skills, there's definitely things I had to learn as I went through this process that has led me to being a six-figure earner. And those are things that we're going to talk about when you join me for next Tuesday's tea right here at 9 a.m., where part 2 is on, do you really want what you're asking for? Ground floor. A ground floor opportunity, and do you really know what you're asking for? I hear lots of times people say that I wish I had started, or I wish I was in when you got in, Christy. And I say to a lot of those people that be careful what you ask for. I will define what that means when we catch me back here next Tuesday at 9 a.m. for Tuesday Tea with me. Thank you so much for joining me and listening to, how can I tell you, where does my experience come from that allows me to be a six-figure earner in this business, and why going forward on these Tuesday Teas, can you listen to me? Now you've got a little bit of my background, where I started. And this was true. I didn't even get to my career. This is true in my career too. I went into as a teacher. I worked my way up, put in the work, placed myself in the right places to be an academic coach. Then worked my way up and placed myself in the right position to be an RTI coordinator. So students who are falling behind, you have to have meetings with when you come to school, you have to have meetings with somebody. I'm that somebody to tell you what plans we have in place to help your child catch up, or at least continue to grow even though they are behind. And then as an assistant principal. And those skills also were transferable to this business as far as building a team and coaching a team. So I had to hustle myself. I had the ability to sell and share jewelry from my businesses. But through my career, I learned how to coach. And through my career, I learned how to mentor. And through my career, I learned how to do the things that have helped me be a better leader with my team. But the way that I've always been in life is I can't make you do it. I can show you better than I can tell you. So I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Find out, is this ground floor thing that you say you want really what you want? I doubt it. See you back here on Tuesday. Remember, today, hand out 5 compliments. Do it with a smile. The good Lord gave it to you. You might as well share it. Bye.